Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Manny here once again. Welcome back to another episode of DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NFL, NBA, WNBA, and MLB. And before I go on any further with the video, like always, guys, I appreciate you guys drop a like on the video. And if you have not subscribed yet to the channel, please do so down below. And do not forget to turn on those notifications. This way you do not miss any of my new uploads. With that being said, today is Sunday, June 10th, 2018, and we have a nice 4-game slate in the WNBA. And we have Indiana, New York, Chicago at LA, Las Vegas at Phoenix, and Atlanta at Seattle. Starting off with the first game, Indiana and New York. I do not have a line at this moment, and it's like 1 in the morning right now in New York. Don't have a line yet on Vegas on this game. But I'm going to go ahead and just give you everything else on it. Matchup, this is going to be an interesting ball game. I really, truly believe both teams kind of like balance out in a lot of areas. When you look at the team stats thus far during the course of the early part of the season, New York does have a few advantages, but there are some areas where they're kind of like pretty balanced out. The balanced areas are steals. New York is six steals per game. Indiana's at 5.9, pretty much 6 per game. Also blocks, both teams are not big on blocks. New York is at 3.2 per game. Indiana's at 2.9 percent. Then we go up to the areas where it's a little bit more intriguing. Points, New York is 81.5 per game. Indiana scores 75.3. Field goal percentage, New York is 42%, Indiana 40%, so only a 2-point disparity there. Offensive pace, New York 81.6. They got a 3-point advantage there. Indiana's at 78.6. Defensive pace, just like the other day when I told you guys New York needed to have that defensive pace, that they are the best in the league at the moment, do wonders against Connecticut if they were to stay in that game. They actually played well enough that they could have won that game. So their defense definitely stepped up. They're going to need to do the same here against Indiana. Defensive pace for New York is 75.7. They are 5 points better than Indiana. Indiana's given up about 80 per game on pace. I expect New York to do very well in that aspect. Rebounding, New York is a bit better. They're also 36 rebounds per game to Indiana's 33. And in the assists, New York also a little bit better than Indiana by about 3 assists more per game at 18.2 per game, while Indiana's at 15.7. So when we look at all this stuff, like I said before, and bear with me, guys, I know maybe some of you are not listening into the videos long enough, but trust me, the information I'm giving you will definitely help you out after you analyze. And even if you have to come back and see the video at 10 minutes at a time, I recommend you do that, especially if you're new to WNBA. These statistical matters that I always look at, I definitely be able to figure out better my lineups as far as who I want to target. So listen to me carefully today, and of course, as we move further now that the NBA is over, I'll be targeting and doing a lot more work with the WNBA, and of course, I'll be adding in the MLB as well. So teams that you want to, when you target this particular game like this, if you're going to target them, you're going to definitely look at all these statistical stats. Then you got here towards the bottom, I also look at performance points from certain areas on the court, so 2-point shots. Indiana's 58% of their scoring is from 2-point shots, while New York is at 56%. I consider that kind of even, and the same thing with PPF threes, shots from 3. These are percentage points from 3-point range. Indiana 24.2%, New York 25.8%. It's only like 1% advantage for New York. Both teams are not heavily on 3-pointers, so this is definitely not the game that you're gonna focus on as far as 3-point shooting is concerned. Now, when we go to the players, we're gonna go right to the game. I also have the cruncher. We got Kelsey Mitchell stands out first. Obviously, she is a rookie, 2nd overall pick, as we've discussed. She's here valued at 5,800. She's you need about 27, 28 for that. She's averaging 24, so she's pretty close. I still think she's maybe just a little tad high, but she is definitely in the league in points and in assists, and she's also in the top in three-point shooting and in field goal percentage to start the year. So she's doing very, very well. They also have met already at one previous meeting a couple of games back ago. She played 30 minutes and had a 33 spot against Indiana, so she definitely played very well the first time out. I expect her to do the same here, so she's definitely a fine play and definitely someone you should definitely target in this actual slate. Then we move on here. We got Shavonda Zelios for New York. Zelios is 5.4. You need about 27. She's averaging 20. When they met the first time, she put up a 24 spot, so she definitely had a decent game. She played about 27 minutes, so that's not too bad. Almost close to 1 fantasy point per minute, which I do enjoy. She's tops in the league right now in assists, so that's one statistical area that she's good at. When we go on a little further, so she's in play at 5'4". I kind of like Kelsey Mitchell more, in my opinion, but Zelios is definitely in play for those who want to save $400 off of there. Tiffany Mitchell, same price as Zelios. I probably would go with Zelios if I'm going to choose one of the two. She's at 5,004, same price, and she's averaging 20 fantasy points per minute through 7 games. I am more in favor of Kelsey Mitchell, if you ask me, in this actual game. And then Kia Nurse definitely will be the next one here. She started off well, then she kind of faded, and she's had a couple rough games, but I expect her to bounce back. She's the number 10 overall pick. She is a rookie. 26 minutes in the last game, 11-2 and nothing else. I expect her definitely to get back to passing the ball and getting some rebounds like she was doing early on, and of course defending. So I expect her to have a better game. Actually, let me see, the first time they played, she had a 56 spot, if I remember correctly. Yeah, she put up 55.8. That's pretty much about 56 fantasy points. Really lit up Indiana. She was on fire, and they kept feeding her the ball. 34 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. She needs to get back to that. If she does that, she'll definitely have a monster game for New York. New York is, pretty sneakily so far. They have been playing fairly tough, especially defensively. They kind of slow down the pace. They like playing more of the half-court game. And I think the matchup between her and Mitchell being number 1 picks, I mean, I think that brought the best out of her the first time around. And she outlasted Kelsey and also actually outscored her fantasy points wise and straight up points. So Kia Nurse is definitely in play if you definitely want to target her. Erica Wheeler is another one. Not too bad. She's one of the top assist leaders. She averages for about almost 5 assists a game. She did only have played 13 minutes the last game. I don't know exactly why, but 4 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 8.7. She has almost a 30-point upside. So definitely at 4,500, she is not too bad at all. You need about 22 to you need about 22, 23, but she's averaging 18 to cover that price. Bria Hartley is another one who's a decent play. She is 4.2. You need about 21, and she's averaging 19. She's tops in field goals and in three-point percentage. She is actually field goal percentage is 43.8%, and she's shooting from 3 at 42.1%. So Miss Hartley is definitely in play. 28 minutes, 9.35 in the last game. Definitely will have to see a little bit more point totals there. Here she did very well, almost 1 fantasy point per minute. As you can see, she's capable of getting 30. She definitely has some games here where she has sufficient minutes and the numbers were a little low, but she doesn't start. She comes off the bench. So, I mean, the longest this game is fairly close, and Miss Nurse is not having a terrible. If she's having a terrible game, then Miss Hartley will get a little bit more time. I'm not on anybody else down here other than Brittany Boyd. She is probably going to be the possible sneaky value play here today in this particular slate. 3,200. This is a young lady that last year pretty much averaged about 25, 26 usage rate on the floor. She was taking at least 9 to 10, 12 shots a game. She was probably averaging about 20, 25 plus in fantasy points last year. She's just going to get the minutes. They're working her in. Phoenix, 4 minutes. First game out, 2 games back, and then she played against Connecticut for 11 minutes with 3 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. So she, right now those numbers don't look good, but trust me, she played very, very well last year. I expected to get some time on the floor here. She was actually a starter last year. Now with Kia Nurse here, obviously she's a number 1 pick, but I still see Brittany's going to be a part of this offense. Just give her a little bit of time. This may be the game that she may get 20 to 25 or even more. So keep an eye on her going forward, but I definitely would like to play her in a few lineups if I need to get a little low value play. I think she's the best low value play. All right, we go to the forwards. We got Tina Charles, and she has been fantastic. She's tops in the league in scoring, 23.8 points per game. She's in rebounds as well, 4th in the league. She is also in assists. She's also in steals. She also is shooting the ball from the floor at 47.6%. She is doing very well. First meeting against Indiana, she put up a 40 spot in 36 minutes, more than 1 fantasy point per minute, and you know how much I love to see that. Okay, that's one of the statistical areas that I always share, and I started sharing in the last video, and I will be doing that as well. So stick around long enough to hear what I have to say about fantasy points per minute as well as usage rate. Those are very, very important, which I've always pinpointed in my NBA videos. All right, because that's just an area that I definitely look at other than team statistics and individual statistics and matchups. So it's a lot of little things, not a whole lot of variables, but you definitely have to look at about 4 or 5 different things, in my opinion, you know, to probably get a better gauge on what you're going to make a decision on for your lineups. At least for me, that's the way I'd rather go, instead of just, you know, handpicking anybody that's hot or anything like that. I don't really go with that kind of you know, as far as momentum plays or anything like that. We move further here to after so we got Tina Charles. She is at 8,000, so you need about 40 right on the nose, and she's averaging 41. So right now that price is good. Is she going to get that? She is more than capable of it. She is definitely able to get 45 plus. So I expect her to ball out well here, especially that she already put up a 40 spot against you guys. Not only that, I mean, we don't know what's going on with Candace Dupree. If she is back, I mean, fantastic for Indiana. They need her. But if she's not back, I mean, I just can't see this time around, even though Tina already played, and I think she played with Candace Dupree on the floor, and she put up a 40 spot. Imagine what she'll do tomorrow. Today. So I am looking at Tina Charles having a monster game here. This is definitely a good spot for her. So Tina Charles is definitely in play, one of the best plays here in this slate. But it's definitely the best matchup here for her in this particular game. Marissa Coleman, not so much on Marissa, but Marissa is 5.4, so you need about 26, 27. The first time out she played them, didn't play that well. If I look, I think I looked at it last night. Indiana, 27 minutes, and she only got 4.9 fantasy points. Now, I do not expect her to get 4.9 fantasy points in 27 minutes today. So I expect her to do a lot better than that, maybe more closer to 15 or 20. But I'm not too sure I am going to be on her for that price, because I believe there's value, and actually better value, in the other games. Excuse me. Had to get a little drink there. All right, so we move further. Rebecca Allen, I definitely like down here as well. All right, for New York, 3,500. That's a nice little value play for her. She got 16, 20 minutes way back here. I do not know why she's not getting sufficient time here now, but she could be a very sneaky play here, so definitely keep an eye on her, maybe even going forward, maybe not so much tomorrow. I definitely like Erica McCall, simply because if there is no Candace Dupree, then that means Natalie and her are getting the brunt of the work. And I actually skipped over Natalie. I apologize for that. Natalie at 4,300. You need from her about 21, and she's averaging 18, so it's pretty close. 21 and 21 the last 2 games respectively. And obviously when she played New York the first time around, she put up a 19, almost 1 fantasy point per minute, so that's not too bad, not too shabby for Natalie. She definitely needs to play more than 21 minutes going into tomorrow, so hopefully she'll play about 24, 25. But the reason she is playing only 21 the last 2 games while Candace has been out is because this lady right here, Erica McCall, at 3,400, which is right now a bargain. I mean, you need about 13 or 14 to cover that, and she's averaging 10, but she has played 16, 18, all of a sudden, bam, 32 minutes, and she put up a monster game in the last game. 9 points, 11 rebounds, 1 block, 1 steal. And as you can see, she's a defender. She steals and she blocks the ball, so definitely a lot of upside with that. She put up a 28 spot already in the last game. Hey, You never know. She may put up about 28 again tomorrow against New York. First time around against New York, 18 minutes, 2-3, 1-1, 11.6 fantasy points. I think she's going to be a nice value play today at 3,400, so definitely keep her in mind. I am not on anybody else other than watch out for Kia and Stephanie. Like I said before, in the last game they played, Stephanie is a second-round draft pick, and she did get 18 minutes because of the absence of Candice Dupree. Like I said, if Candice Dupree is out again, definitely consider Stephanie Mavonga here. 18 minutes, and she put up 10, 2, and 2 as far as steals, 17.4 fantasy points. That's nearly, pretty much to me, that's 1 fantasy point per minute, and that's fantastic. So, I mean, definitely like her at 3,200. Let's move further. We go now to the Chicago-LA game, and man, what can I say about this one? For whatever reason, as far as the lines are concerned, they definitely have LA, just torturing Chicago Sky. I don't know about this game. I think Chicago is a little bit better than what the Vegas people are thinking here. But LA is at home, and they do play fairly well at home. They got a total here for 164 in this game, and they got LA favored by 13.5. At least the lines that I last saw, and that's pretty steep. I wouldn't mind at all having to put a bet on Chicago keeping this game closer and being under that 13. I really do believe that it's going to be probably a little bit more closer of a game. But let's look at the statistics that I have thus far. When you're looking at points, Chicago's averaging 80.3 points per game to LA's 79.7. So they're pretty much even there. I consider that even. They're not that far away from one another, but it comes to show you that Chicago can score. Field goal percentage, LA 46%, that's 4th best in the league, while Chicago's at 44.4, only less than 2%. It is a difference when it's a 2% as opposed to 1%. They're 6th in the league, but I don't think that's too much of a disparity here when you start looking at the players. Okay, then now you look at offensive pace. Chicago at 78.2, that's nearly last. They're at 11th in the league, and offensive pace for the Spark is 72.4. They are last in the league, and Chicago is second to last. So they're kind of even there, but actually, let me correct myself. They're not even there at all. Even though LA is 12th and Chicago is 11th, Chicago is actually 6 points better as far as offensive pace. So both of them don't have a huge pace, so it should be more of a defensive-minded game. But when you think about defense, both teams seem to have given their opponents a lot more points. So because as far as defensive pace, Chicago is 84.2, while LA Spark is 87.3 with a 3-point advantage for Chicago. This is why I say this game is going to be fairly close depending on how it goes with the actual players. Rebounding, a big advantage for Chicago. They're a better rebounding team, 34 rebounds per game to LA's 26 per game. That's an 8-point difference there in rebounds. That could be the difference in this game being won or lost by Chicago. If they can keep the game close and they can rebound and get second chance opportunities, I can see them pulling out an upset here. They're also up on assists, 19 assists per game by Chicago, while LA's at 17, so it's about a 2-point advantage there. And then the big difference for the advantage for the Spark is that they are a good steal team. They defend better with the steals, 9.2 steals per game as opposed to 6, which 6 is still respectable for Chicago, but that's a 3 steal advantage for the Spark. All right, and when we look forward blocks, neither one of the teams are big on blocking. LA is probably the worst, only get 1.5 blocks a game. Chicago gets about 3.5. They have a 2.5, two block advantage there. When it comes to PPF 2s, performance points from 2-point range, Chicago 58.4%. LA is definitely better in the 2% range. They score 63.6% from 2. 63.6. That's pretty high. That's like an advantage of about 5 or 6% over Chicago. They're second in the league in that category. And then when you look at PPF 3s, both teams are not that good from 3-point range. Actually, the Spark are 11th, second to last at only 18.2% from their points coming from 3, while Chicago's at 21.4 just an advantage of only 3%. When you look at the players in this particular game, first one stands out obviously is Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray is up in points, assists, steals, field goal percentage, and 3-point percentage. 7.5, you need about 30. 7.5 is her price. You need about 37, and she's averaging 33.6. This is not a bad matchup for her. I mean, Vandersloot is not that bad of a defender, but Chelsea Gray to me is just a bit better than Vandersloot. She didn't have a great game the last game out against Seattle, but then again you're playing against Jewel Lloyd, and obviously the pressure of playing against one of the better guards in the league sometimes doesn't fare well with some players. But 27 minutes is sufficient time on the floor. Definitely a few minutes less than what she's been averaging. 8 points, 2 rebounds. 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals. The defense day on the steals were great. What I heard of the most, obviously, and that's one of the reasons why she had less minutes, is because she got into foul trouble. She had 5 total fouls, didn't foul out, but she only had 20 fantasy points. And as you can see, she is 40-point upside. 40-point upside. She had a 48 spot in the first game of the season. All right, so we expect her to do a lot better tomorrow against Chicago, with Chicago being one of those teams that, defensive pace is almost 85. So if LA can get out and go, and she can get herself going early, I mean, it could be a really big game for Chelsea Gray. Courtney Vandersloot, 6.9. I say she's in play. If you want to save some money and you think she's going to have a better game than Miss Gray, you can go with Courtney. 6,900, you need about 34, and she's averaging 27. But she's only played in 3 games. She had a 33-minute game, and then all of a sudden, bam, against Phoenix, only 27. 10 points, 6 assists, 2 steals. She is definitely up there in points, and she's up there in assists in the league for the early part of the year. Courtney Vandersloot. I would rather go with Allie. Allie has better numbers. She came back from that injury. She played the other day, and she played fairly okay, 24 minutes. Has 17 fantasy points. There goes the steal. There goes the 4 assists. She's not a big rebounder. She's more of an assist girl and definitely a defender and a scorer. I expect her to do better tomorrow. I actually like her more than I like Vandersloot. But if I had a choice here, I would probably pay up and pay $7,500, which is $1,300 more, and have Chelsea Gray dominate here if I was to choose Chelsea Gray as one of my top stud guards in this slate. But Allie Quigley is definitely a good play, man. She's in points. She's in assists. She's 58% field goal percentage, 47.6% from 3. At 6,200, you need 31, and she's averaging 24. So a little pricey for her, but she definitely has the upside. She can get you, 35 plus. She can get you 35 plus. It's not, she hasn't done that yet this year, but she did it well enough several times last year. Odyssey Sims in play as well, 5,900. Hey, if you don't want to go Gray, Vandersloot, or Quigley, definitely you want to go with Sims. Definitely. At 5.9, she's tops in points, tops in assists, field goal percentage 47%. She's in 3 categories. 5.9, you need about 29, almost 30, and she's averaging 23.3. She's getting massive minutes here, 31, 35, 35. I love to see the minutes first, and then definitely if I go into the cruncher, we will definitely see that her usage rate is pretty good too. 26 minutes against Seattle, 6, 4, 5, and 1. Definitely have 4 turnovers, which is not good. I noticed she's having quite a bit of turnovers through the course of this year. But she was pretty steady at 25 to 29 fantasy points. Then she has taken a dip the last 3 games. I think this is a game that she can definitely get back, especially because of the defense of Chicago. They definitely are not the greatest defending team. They're a fast-paced team, and LA will probably have an opportunity to score here quite a bit of points. So Odyssey Sims is in play if you want to save 1,000 from Vandersloot, or you want to save even more from our own teammate Gray. I am in favor of going with Gray here and just paying the price. But if you want to save even more, I definitely like Gabby and Diamond DeShields. Gabby Williams, 4,600. We all know she's a rookie, okay? She's in rebounds, she's in steals, and she's in field goal percentage, 48% from the floor in her young season and her young career. 4,600, you need about 22 or so from her, and she's averaging 22 right now. 29 massive minutes against Phoenix. She had 26 straight up points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals. Now this is the area that she is great at, steals, which I already mentioned that she's in tops in steals. She's averaging 2.5 a game. So, I mean, she's doing very well. 35 fantasy points in 32 of the last 2 games. At that price, that is a bargain. And she's going to need to play very well tomorrow to keep Chicago close. And like I said, I think Chicago, with these young girls and Vandersloot, they have a shot to keep this game close, especially that LA is really, really not good in some areas. You know, LA is not really good in some areas. As we, they're not really good rebounders. So there's an advantage for Chicago. We move further. We got Diamond DeShields. Diamond DeShields, 4,500. She had only 19 minutes in the last game. 5-7-2, 1 steal. Not too bad. Almost a fantasy point a minute, so we'll take that. She had more than a fantasy point a minute in the prior game against Vegas. She had 34 minutes, 25 straight up scoring points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 37.2 fantasy points. That's more than a 1 fantasy point per minute. Diamond DeShields, the rookie, isn't played. Actually, she was the 3rd pick, and the 4th pick was Gabby. They got 2 nice young players here to tam up with Quigley and Vandersloot. They definitely have a nice backcourt, the Chicago Sky. Essence Carson, I'm not so much on her, but, she is in steals. She gets 1.5 steals a game, so she's a pretty decent defender. 3,800. You need about 17 or 18. She's averaging 15. She did get 21 minutes against Seattle, 19-20, so she's averaging 19 to 21 minutes in the last 3 games, 13, 7, and 16. So if you want to pay for 3,800, you want to come down and save yourself $700, you can do that. But I think Diamonds DeShields upside and Gabby Williams, I think they're a better deal, just paying $700 more. And again, there is more value in some of the other games as well. So these girls are in play. Essence Carson's in play. I am not on anyone else here, but any one of these girls definitely at this price, they can get you maybe 9 to 10 fantasy points when they get enough time on the court. Like Kalish Cooper is going to probably get about 10 minutes or more. I think she got about 15 or more the other day. But look at that. She's been getting 22. She could be a sneaky play, not putting enough fantasy points. She did it here against Seattle. She put 24 points in 22 minutes. But since then, nothing. 13, 11, and 16, over 20 minutes. Just not enough for me. As you know, I love fantasy points per minute. I love usage rate, and I love players that have floor time, but they're taking advantage of that floor time by getting good usage on the court, have an upside in their ceiling, and most importantly, they can score enough fantasy points for every minute they're on the floor. That I like. So if I can find a lot of those, like I said before, you're going to be in good hands. We move over to the forwards. We got Agumake, Candace Parker, Cheyenne Parker, and I don't see anybody else here that I want to even talk about other than, obviously, Agumake is definitely one of the better forwards in the league. 7,800 for her. That's about 38, and she's averaging 35. She's tops in points, rebounds, steals. She's at 60% field goal percentage right now, 3rd in the league. So she's shooting the rock very well from around the floor. She's not a big 3-point shooter, but she'll take a couple of shots here and there from there. She's not religiously there because she's very good in the paint. 19 minutes, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 29 fantasy points in 19 minutes. Give me a little bit of Agumake. I love those numbers. I love numbers. When someone can fill up the stat sheet like this, fantasy, when you play daily fantasy sports, this is what you're looking for. Minnesota, 29 12, 4, 2, 1, and 3 steals. I mean, she is doing it. 28 fantasy points, nearly 29 fantasy points, pretty much in 29 minutes. That's more. That's about 1 fantasy point per minute. Here, 35.1 in 31 minutes. Here, 38 in 37. 38 minutes, 37 fantasy points, 34. She has been averaging more than a fantasy point per minute the whole entire season. She's a lock for me. In this game, love her. Nneka Ogwumike, definitely in play, 7,800. I definitely think you should get a little bit of her. If you're not going to be on her, then get her teammate, Candace Parker. We know she's one of the better players in the league. She started late because she has some injuries, but hey, she hasn't put up those massive numbers yet. 19 minutes in the last game, 6, 3, 1, 2 steals, 16.1 fantasy points. Not too bad for 19 minutes. 28 minutes, she had 32, so more than a fantasy point per minute. And then over here, not quite there. Maybe more like half of a fantasy point per minute. At 26 minutes, she put up 16.6. I would prefer Nneka here, for sure, over Candace for the same price, because Candace has not quite made it to the level of that price. That price at 7,800, you need 38, and she hasn't even cracked 38. So until she does that, and I think I said that the last time she played in the last video, I'm going to wait until she's putting those kind of numbers up. So right now, I think she's a little pricey, for where she's at right now as far as fantasy points. Cheyenne Parker, she's the only big dog they got right now, because I don't know what's going on with Stephanie Dawson. Maybe she'll play tomorrow. As a matter of fact, let me take a look, because I don't recall her playing in the last game. No, she has not played. And I don't know. I'm not going to even touch up on her. So right now you got to focus on Cheyenne Parker. If you're interested in Cheyenne, she is a point scorer. She's tops in rebounds. She's in blocks. Field goal percentage is actually at 54%, 10th in the league right now. So she's shooting the ball well from the floor. At 4,600, you need about 22 or so, and she has averaging 24. So she's doing very good. Actually, she's averaging about 23, 24, and that's about the price she is going to meet here. 20 minutes in the last game against Phoenix, 11, 4, 2, 21.8 fantasy points. Another nice outing, 1 fantasy point per minute. Obviously, you got to love that. The game prior to that versus the Aces, 30 minutes, 2013, 2 blocks, 3 steals, 48.6 fantasy points. That's like 1.6 fantasy points per minute or 1.4, somewhere around there. That is pretty darn good. The one before that, 20 minutes, 16 fantasy points, not too bad. 23 and 22. I like it. I like the numbers over here. She crushed it too. 21 against New York, 28 fantasy points. I mean, she blocks, she steals, she defends, she can actually score, and she rebounds. She does a little bit of everything, and she's going to need to here. This is a big, tough matchup for her. Matchup-wise, obviously, this is not the best matchup for her, but at 4,600, we want to give her a chance. Why not against Ogwumike? You're saving yourself $3,200. That's a lot of money that can go somewhere else. So, I definitely would like to try to put her in some sort of a lineup. Other than that, that is it for this game. That's basically it. We go to Las Vegas. Another one here that they're predicting a blowout. I mean, Las Vegas Aces and Phoenix. I kind of like that Las Vegas team as far as like the young kids they got. Asia Wilson is obviously a good player. But Phoenix, obviously, they got a couple of veterans that really going to be tough. They have a 168 total for this game, and they got Phoenix favorite at home by 15. So, obviously, I am not going to tell you that we should definitely target the Las Vegas Aces and Phoenix game at all. The Mercury is expected to blow these guys out, so maybe we want to target one of the other games. But we're going to go over the game anyway, all right? So they're favored by 15. And when you look at the numbers here as far as statistics, team statistics, I mean, you got Phoenix, 84.4 points per game. They're 4th in the league. The Vegas team is 7th at 80.7, so only a difference of 4 points. Field goal percentage, 48% an advantage for Phoenix. Vegas is shooting at 42%. Then you got offensive pace. Surprisingly, the pace is very high for the Aces. They love moving quick. 86.3, 3rd best in the league. They got a 7-point advantage there over Phoenix, who's averaging 79.5 offensive pace. But this is where it gets a little tricky, right? When you think of the defensive pace, Phoenix actually, their pace is 78.2. They're better there as opposed to Vegas, who has been giving up 85. So defensively, they like to run up and down the court, and they basically have been giving the opponents about the same amount that they're giving, as opposed to Phoenix is able to clamp up a little bit and actually defend better. So if Phoenix can slow it down and get to that half-court set, they're more like a half-court team anyway, because they like to build around in the front with Brittany Griner. I could see where Phoenix will definitely dominate the game. We'll have to wait and see how they do, how she does with Wilson, and how Wilson does against her. When it comes to rebounds, Vegas is actually better than Phoenix by 6 rebounds more a game. Las Vegas is averaging 34.6, sixth in the league, which is in the middle of the pack. Phoenix, 28.2, 11th, almost near last. Not enough rebounding because the only one that really rebounds on this team is Griner and Bonner. That is it. They're the top 2 on the team. So it makes it very, very tough when not everybody else is really, really picking it up. Now, granted, there are girls on the team that are getting rebounds, but not at a high average. The best rebounders, obviously, Griner and Bonner, and it's not enough. They're only getting 28 rebounds per game. So definitely a nice advantage for the Aces if they could pull through there. If they can rebound better and get especially offensive rebounds on those missed shots and get second chance opportunities, it gives the Vegas team a chance to maybe stay a little closer. And this game may be another one where even though Vegas is saying 15 and it's going to be a blowout, it may be a little closer than that. This game may end up being just a 5, 6, 7 point win for the Mercury. We'll have to wait and see. When we move further, we got assists, 18 per game for Vegas and 21 for Phoenix. They got an advantage there. That's second in the league, which is not too bad. Steals, they're pretty much even at 6.5 each. When it comes to the blocks, Vegas is 6th in the league. They have 4 blocks a game, and Phoenix is actually 3rd in the league, even better at 5 blocks per game. When we move further, an advantage for the Vegas team, they shoot 63.7% from 2-point shots. That's a 9-point advantage over Phoenix. Phoenix performance points from 2 to 54.7%, which is really good, over 50%, but it's just nowhere near what Vegas has been doing. So Vegas definitely gets a lot of shots inside the 3-point area and in the blocks, and they are shooting very, very well. And most of their points, when they're scoring 80 pretty much a game, almost 81 a game, about 63% of those are 2-point shots. All right, because they're not a good 3-point shooting team. Performance points from 3-point shots, only 11.2%. That's last in the league for Las Vegas, and that is horrific. They got no 3-point shooters. Their only 3-point shooter is Kayla McBride. The only one that can shoot it and can actually get hot and shoot the ball from 3. Nobody else shoots the rock from 3-point range. Just Kayla McBride, which is not a bad person to have on your team, but that's not sufficient. Phoenix, 25.7%, an advantage of 14 more percent of their shots are from 3 than the Vegas team. That might be the difference in this game that makes them 15-point favorites. Their 3-point shooters, Taurasi in January. January is shooting 43% from 3. She doesn't shoot the rock from 3 as much as Taurasi, but Taurasi is definitely one of the top in the league in shooting. She's going to be over 40% at some point. She's at 36% right now. But she is one of the better 3-point shooters in the league. All right, when we're targeting the players here, Kayla McBride, we go to the guard spot. And, okay, sorry, Diana Taurasi pops in here first, 6,800. For that, you need about 34, 33. She's averaging 29, almost 30. She's been on fire. She's been playing really, really well. And as you can see, her price has jumped over Bonner. And Bonner has had a little dip in price, but these girls are both very good. 27 minutes, 18 threes, 7 assists, and 2 steals, 36 fantasy points in the last game. Prior to that, 34 and 35 minutes. And look at the fantasy points, about 1 fantasy point per minute. Over here, she blew that away. 33 minutes, 45.8 fantasy points, had 29 straight-up points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 steal and 1 block. She's just doing it all. Taurasi's up in the league in points. She's ninth in scoring right now at 18.8 per game. Assists, 4.7 a game. Steals, 1 per game. Field goal percentage, 44%, and 36% from three-point range. Her numbers have been great. She's definitely in play, guys. In this matchup here, she's definitely in play. And if you're going to choose any one of the two, I will go with Taurasi tomorrow just against Vegas. But I would not try to load up on a lineup with more than just Taurasi or Griner. Either take Taurasi or take Griner in your lineup, and that is it from the Phoenix team. Because if this game becomes a blowout, then Taurasi or Griner or anybody else, if you were to go with Bonner, Taurasi, and stack up a team stack against Vegas, they might not be on the floor long enough to get you as much as you need. Because it may just get out of hand. It may just get out of hand. Something tells me that Vegas is going to stay in this game for a little while. So that's good for us fantasy players who may want to go with Taurasi or Bonner. But I will not be on more than 2 girls from this game, especially from Phoenix. At least in my opinion. I think that's not the route to go. Dewana Bonner in play as well. Another one. She's tops in points. She's 15 in the league there. 16.4 per game. Rebounds, 5.6 a game. 4 assists a game. 1.8 steals a game. That's 6 in the league. And she's shooting 48% from the floor. Come on now. The girl can ball. She's $400 cheaper than Diana Taurasi. If you wanted to save a little bit of money, you can go with Dewana. I would not be mad at you. Game log, 29 minutes, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 26 fantasy points in the last game. Not too shabby. 33 minutes, 30. 27 minutes here, 41 fantasy points. 33 minutes here, 37 fantasy points. 32 minutes here against Washington, 42.4 fantasy points. She has 50-point upside, as you can see here. And she's pretty much averaging, I would say, more than 30. Well, we already know she's in fantasy points, she's averaging more than 34. And, actually, 33.9, about 34 fantasy points. This price is not too bad for her. You need 32 from her, and she's averaging slightly more than that, and she has 42 to 50-point upside. Dewana Bonner is definitely in play in this matchup. And like I said before, if you want to save 400, you take Bonner. If you want to pay up for Taurasi, you pay Taurasi, and I think that's about it you take out of the Phoenix team. If you don't take any one of these 2 girls, then the only one you want to take out of the Phoenix matchup against Vegas is Griner. And if you're going to take somebody from Vegas, it's going to be Wilson or Kayla McBride. And that's who we're going to now. Kayla McBride, 4,700. You need 23. She's averaging 23. As you can see, she can score 14, rebounds 3.6, assists 2.4, steals 1.5. All right, I got her here in points. I got her here in steals. I got her here in field goal percentage, 44.8% from the floor, and she's shooting 38% on the nose from 3. And like I said before, she's the only true three-point shooter on the Vegas team. They're going to need her to shoot the 3 and shoot from everywhere tomorrow. Excuse me, today, because I'm speaking now at almost 2 in the morning. So Kayla McBride is in play at 4,700. She's not a bad play at all here. She will be probably on the court as long as possible. Let's see how many minutes she played in the last game. Again, she has 34 minutes. I don't see that changing. She should be 30 minutes plus easy. We just need that 30. We just need this 34, 30, or 32 minutes to be about 32, 34 fantasy points. And then I will love her even more. Kayla McBride is in play. Then we got Lindsay Allen. Lindsay, top in the league in steals and assists. She's 8th in steals with 1.6 a game, and she's also in assists with 4.6. 4,500. You need about 21, 22 from her, and she's averaging 19.6. 24 against Atlanta, 24. Last 2 games, 24 minutes apiece. Had 2 downers here, 3 downers, pretty much under 20. But 24, she shot a 31.5 fantasy point in her last game with 7 assists and 4 steals. Obviously, the steals definitely benefit. She's a defender there. She likes to steal. That's where she's good at. She's also a decent passer. So these are the areas you want: assists and steals and blocks. She's not a blocker, but she definitely could steal. She defends in that aspect. She moves around. She's pretty quick. Someone you can consider at 4 or 5. I think there are a couple of better plays than her in this actual slate. In this matchup here, Kayla McBride is probably the better play between the two for Vegas. Tamara Young is not bad either. I'm not on Tamara Young. But, you know, I think she does fairly well as far as passing the ball. Okay, and as you can see here, she had 1 of 5 assist games. She definitely rebounds well too, and she can defend a little bit. There goes to steals. She's just, you know, not putting sufficient numbers up in the last 3 games. She started off so well, 28 and 28, 33 minutes, 23, 23 minutes, 22, 21 minutes, 23. Then all of a sudden she got 26, 25, and last game 29 minutes on the floor, which is sufficient minutes, but the numbers are not relating, and that's what's disappointing. So I'm not on her. There's nobody else here in this actual slate that I like at guard. The best play here is Taurasi and Bonner, hands down. If you want to pay up, if you want to save a little bit, go with Bonner. If you want to save even more and you don't want to touch Taurasi or Bonner because of the blowout implications here, you can go with Kayla McBride to try to keep the Vegas close, and hopefully she gets hot from 3. We move forward in this game. We got Griner. We got Aja Wilson, Sancho Little, and I am not on anybody else. Hamby, yes. And Isabella Harrison is going to be interesting. It says here still suspension, but I believe she already played. No, she has not played, but I think she's going to probably play tomorrow. I think she's going to play in this next game here against Phoenix. $3,000. She will be very, very cheap. She'll be very, very cheap. You only need, man, like 15 or 14 from her. I mean, 3,000. That is pretty darn cheap for Isabella Harrison. If she plays, as you can see here from the past, 23.9 fantasy points in 34 games last year. That's pretty much her numbers from last year. She was averaging about 24 fantasy points. She's not a bad player, and that obviously, you know, looks for her to be at about 45 to, you know, $5,000, and she's only here 3. So definitely a very sneaky play. Watch that. Check to see around game time to see if she is playing. If she is playing, that's a nice little position to be in because they're going to need the help because Coffey hasn't been that great. And Aja Wilson, obviously the #1 draft pick, she is every penny worth being #1. So we start at top, Brittany Griner. We know the deal with her, $8,300. You need from her at that price, you need about 41, and she's getting 38.5. And she's in the league. She's in the league tops in points, 4th in the league at 21.3, rebounds 6.7. That's 12th in the league. She's in blocks 2.4. She's 2nd in the league. She also averages 1 steal a game, and her field goal percentage is 59% from the floor. So she's shooting very, very well up close. 59%. She's been hitting value 3 out of the last 4 games. 45, 43, 36, 47. She's definitely got 45 plus upside. She has already hit 50 once this year. We know from last year she was 50 plus upside. So she's going to get there. She's going to have some 50 plus games. We know that she's 50 plus upside here. Definitely a nice play. The only problem is that she's battling a team that is expected to lose by 15 points. So it also is all a matter of can Vegas stay close. And for Vegas to stay close, they need this young lady right here, Miss Wilson, 7,700. You need about 37 from her to get that, and she's averaging 37.4 right now, so she's just about right with price. Look at this last game against Atlanta, 30 minutes, 29 rebounds, 3 assists, 33.3 fantasy points. Prior to that, she played 21 minutes, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks, 32 fantasy points. Both games more than 1 fantasy point per minute. She had a 51 spot here against Washington in 31 minutes, 29 spot in 24 minutes against Seattle, 41 in 33, 38 in 31, and 36 in 31. Every single game about 1.25 or 1.35 fantasy points per minute. She's definitely a play for me. You know, I want you guys to be aware that that's something you definitely got to consider. So fantasy point wise, she is doing it. Fantasy points per minute, she's been doing it. We know she has upside too. As you can see, she's capable of getting 40 or better. So Aja Wilson is in play. She's up in points. She's 5th in the league in points at 20.9 right now in her young rookie year. She's 7th in the league in rebounding at 7.9. Okay, she's in blocks, 1.7 rebounds a game. She's 7th there. She's also in steals, averaging 1 steal at least per game. And her field goal percentage, not extremely high, but not too bad for a rookie, 44.3% from the floor. So she has a tough matchup with Griner tomorrow, but Griner is, to me, is not like, she's not like a really good pressing defender. So I feel that Wilson, with her, her length and her being wide, I think she's going to be able to do well against Griner. So we'll wait and see. I would love the young lady to have a great game. I think at 7,700, I may have her in some of my lineups, so I'm not going to BS you guys there. I think if I'm going to go with anybody in the Vegas team in tomorrow's game, it's going to be Miss Wilson. I'm not even on McBride. All right, so Aja Wilson is in play. Sancho Little, not a bad play. Sancho Little is tops in the league in rebounding. She's rebounding 4.9 per game, and she has 1.3 steals per game, and her field goal percentage has been outstanding at 57%. So she's definitely a nice play here. The only thing is I don't know if she's going to put up large numbers here because, again, there is that possibility of a blowout. So you have here 24 minutes in the last game, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 20 fantasy points. She had 28 here, 17, 13, a little erratic in those games there. I think she's going to be okay in this game. You really only need 22 from her. She's averaging 21, so she's not a bad play. At that price, at 4,400, I would prefer her over Coffee, and I prefer her over Swords, who's a little cheaper. And I would prefer her actually tomorrow. I wouldn't mind having Wilson and having maybe Little in my lineup as opposed to Griner. But you could also, go with Griner and Wilson if you wanted to stack them up. You're just going to have to get value somewhere else. And there's a lot of good value plays in the guard spot. So you could definitely be able to do a lineup that way. We move further. Swords, not in play so much for me, but Miss Hamby, she has played as of late, and she's doing very well. 16 minutes in the last game, 23 fantasy points. When I saw that the other day, I was like, man, that's because I checked the games at the end, and I look at the box score. If I didn't catch most of the game, I look at the box score as soon as the game's over later in the night. And I was looking, I said, man, this is not bad for a young lady here that wasn't expected to play a whole lot. As you can see, she started off the year not playing much, and then bam, 13, 12, all of a sudden jumped up to 24 minutes, now 16, a little bit less than the other day. But look at the other day against Chicago, 43 fantasy points, 24 points. That's the reason why she got 16 minutes again. She may get 16 to 20 again tomorrow, especially if Vegas gets a little bit, Phoenix pulls away quite a bit. Then you could probably see Miss Hamby get some more run. But again, be on the lookout for Miss Harrison. At 3,000, you need 15, and she's averaging 16. So, I mean, you can't go wrong there. I mean, she's definitely a nice value play. All right. So Harrison's another very fine value play you got to watch out. You got to watch out for in this game tomorrow. Other than that, nobody else. Kelsey Bone, she's good for rebounding, so watch her if you're interested in her for rebounding. But I think you'll be able to find better plays somewhere else that you can use the 3,000 for. We move on further. Let's go to the Atlanta-Seattle game, the last game here. This game here, we have a total of 166. Seattle is favored by 6.5 at home, and that's obviously because they're at home. Atlanta, not too shabby. When you look at the team statistics, they definitely have a tremendous upside. So we know Seattle is definitely a good offensive team. They've scored 91.1 points per game, while Atlanta's at 77.9. That's a disadvantage by 14. So that's pretty big. But then again, this game is only 6.5, so go figure, right? Field goal percentage, Seattle 47.6%, second best, and Atlanta's actually, their field goal percentage as a team is 39%. That is last in the league right now, 12th. So that's not looking too good there. So if anything, this is the game that looks like it will be the blowout, but it's not. They're projecting it to be only a 6.5 point favorite upside for Seattle. But look further here. We go on to the offensive pace. Atlanta's at 87. That's 5 points better as far as offensive pace than Seattle. Seattle's at 82.7. So Atlanta definitely likes to move up and down the floor. And the thing is that Seattle is no different. They're no different. They really like to go up and down the floor. So it's all going to come down to who can defend better. Well, defensive pace, Atlanta's at 82.5, which is not good. That's 5 points less than what their offensive pace is, but Seattle's pace is even better defensively, so that means they will slow down the game a little bit on Atlanta if Atlanta tries to get a little fast on them. 78.8 fantasy defensive pace for Seattle, which is an advantage by 3, so that definitely will help them. They're going to actually slow down this game a little bit on Atlanta. But I like a lot of the Atlanta players, man. You know, as far as like rebounds and all that, they can rebound. They're a good stealing team. They definitely block as well. Anyway, we go a little further. We got rebounding. Atlanta 36.4 rebounds a game. That's 4th best in the league. And then we have Seattle at 33.6. So they have an advantage there, Atlanta, by 3 rebounds per game. Assists, both teams are not the greatest, but Seattle does have the better assist rate, 28.8, almost 21 assists a game. That's 3rd best in the league. That's a 4-point upside over Atlanta, who's at 16.6. Then we look at the steals. Both teams are very good at stealing the ball. Seattle is 3rd in the league with 8 steals a game. Atlanta is 2nd in the league with 9 steals a game. Then we go to the blocks. There's an advantage there for Atlanta. Atlanta at 5.3 blocks a game. That's 2nd best in the league over Seattle's 4.1. Then we go to performance points from 2, 57.6% for Atlanta, while Seattle's at 51%. That's a 6-point advantage for Atlanta as far as their points within 2-point range. Performance points from 3-point range, that's where Atlanta is not good. They don't have a good 3-point shooter. They actually only have one that can shoot the ball fairly well, and that's Montgomery. 21.3%, while Seattle's at 29.2. That is an advantage of nearly 8 points, nearly 8 points. So Seattle shoots the ball well. So if you're going to target some 3-point shooters, obviously, which I'm going to discuss, stick with me longer. And, you know, as we go along and I start making more and more of the WNBA videos, I will get to the point and get to these statistics a little bit quicker and just pinpoint the ones. But these are for perfect for those who are my subscribers and are looking to learn a little bit more about WNBA. Getting this information is important, and then you'll be able to get a better gauge on how to make your lineups. All right, so that's where we stand there. So now we look at the players, and we go to guard, and obviously Jewell Loyd. I've spoken about her before. I think she's one of the best guards in the league. We know that. Jewell Loyd 7.4. You need about 37. She's averaging 33. Okay. She's averaging 33. She's in the league tops in points. She's 7th in the league at 20.1 points per game. She's tops in rebounds, 5.3 a game. She's tops in assists, actually 14th in the league at 3.4 assists a game. Her field goal percentage is 46%, and 3-point shooting 42.6, nearly 43%. So she does a little bit of everything, and she's pretty darn good. 22 minutes in the last game, which is very, very low for her. After she's had some 31s, 37, 31, 31, she went from 22 in Vegas, Dallas 33, and all of a sudden, bam, to 22 again. But she put nearly 1 fantasy point per minute in those 21 minutes, so I accept that. I just don't like the fact that you will have to pay $7,000 and change for that, and you didn't get your value. When you pay for this, you definitely want to see more like closer to 35, 37. So I like the 1 fantasy points per minute, but when you're paying a certain price, you definitely want to see. So that's something that's very important to analyze every time you make decisions on lineups. Also, is the player worth the price that they're asking at FanDuel? So right now, going into tomorrow, she hasn't quite hit that 33, 34 spot in 3 games. The last time she did it was 4 games ago against Washington. Now, tomorrow, she's in a game that she can possibly do that. You know, she is in a game that she could possibly do that because Atlanta, if you look at their team, Tiffany Hayes is a good player. I like her. I even like her at this price. I just don't know about tomorrow's matchup with Loyd. But Tiffany Hayes, if you wanted to save some money, you want to save $400, which is really not a whole lot, I would definitely take the upside here and go with Jewell Loyd. Because Jewell Loyd is 40-point upside. She definitely does. Tiffany Hayes, 7,000, you need 35. She's averaging 31. But she has been playing lights out the last couple of games. 32, 35, and 30 minutes. And look at the numbers. 31, 42, and 35. Her numbers will look better than Loyd. So tomorrow she may just get her game up even a little bit more better. And she may want to go off on Loyd, which would not be the first time someone has brought it to Jewell Loyd, you know, this season. So So Tiffany Hayes, if you want to save $400, Tiffany Hayes is not a bad play tomorrow, because even though Seattle is favored by 6.5, numbers are showing that Atlanta is pretty poor in some areas, and maybe this is a little bit more of a bigger advantage for Seattle. It really is not. Tiffany Hayes is one of those players, one of the guards here that's going to play well for Atlanta. This game may be closer than people think. It may be a 6-point difference. It may be only 3 or 4 points. Interesting game to watch. Sue Bird in play, 5,100. You need 25 from her, and she's averaging 21. What I like about Sue is she's a top assist girl, and she's a top 3-pointer, and she has her some moments where she defends well and she steals. 3-point percentage, she is almost 39% at 38.7. She's also tops, pretty much doing well, 21, 23. I mean, you can see these numbers here. She's pretty much close to 1 fantasy point per minute almost every time she plays. 18 minutes here against Vegas, she put up 24. 23 here, she put up 24. 22 minutes here, she put up 19, close. 33-20. So from here on, at least from Washington on, she's been, in these 3 games out of the last 4, she's been pretty much at 1 fantasy point per minute, which is fine. And at that price, if she could be in that 24, 25 range, that's perfect. That's the price that she's at. She's priced perfectly at 5,100. You need 25. Sue Bird in play here if you don't want to go with Jewel Lloyd. If you wanted to go cheaper, you go to Hayes. If you wanted to go cheaper than that, you go to Bird. If she has a great 3-point shooting game, and we know that she's capable of having great games like that, then you got yourself a nice play. Renee Montgomery. Montgomery's up in points, 10.7 a game, assists 3.2 a game, 3-point percentage, she is at 30. Sorry about that. 3-point percentage, she's at 45%. She shoots from 3. Pretty darn well for Atlanta. She's at 4,400. So you need about 22 from her, and she's averaging 19. 25, 25, 26. So she's averaging 25 to 26 minutes in the last 4 games. She's not putting in that 1 point fantasy point per minute. So at that price, you need 22. I would need to see 22 every single time or better, and I'm not seeing that. I think she's not a bad play. I think there's just a better play than her at that price. So, something to consider there. I think in this matchup, I'd rather go with Bird and pay, $600 more, $700 more, or just jump right up and go right to her teammate, which is the best play here for Atlanta, is Tiffany Hayes. When it comes to the backcourt, Tiffany Hayes is the best. And then when we get to the front, I mean, McCourtry, Breland, and Williams are just awesome. Those girls are definitely, beasts up there as far as rebounding, some of them scoring, and so on and so forth. We move further. Jordan Canada is definitely in play as well. She's a rook. 4,200. You need about 21 or so from her, and she's averaging 16.9. We definitely need to see those numbers come up a little bit more. She did have a 35 spot 2 games ago against Dallas. Played the most minutes she's played all year, 29 minutes. So she was definitely feeling it, and she, she was passing the ball well, and she had those steals, and they said, hey, you know what, we're going to keep her on the floor. So she played 29 minutes. They reduced it back down to 19 in the last game, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, got the 1 steal. 15.6 fantasy points. I'm not on her tomorrow, but I think she's, someone you got to keep your eye on. If you're interested, definitely, you definitely target her. I'm always going to try to give you the best. I think still I'd rather pay up from her. If I'm going to want Seattle, I definitely will go with Sue Bird. And if I'm not going to go with Bird, I'm definitely going to jump all the way up to Lloyd. All right, that's the bottom line. Nobody else here in the bottom. I'm not on Sykes. We'll go to the forwards in this game. And it's hands down the forwards here in the center spot. I mean, the 3, 4, 5 spot here is kind of sick. This is going to be a nice matchup. You got Brianna Stewart, probably one of the best, front court ladies in the game. 8,500. You need 42, 43 from her. She's averaging 41 in 8 games. She's in a tough matchup here because Angel McCourtry is a good player, and she's been playing really, really well lately. And then you got Howard and Breland. That's going to be a nice matchup with Elizabeth Williams back there too. And then Alicia Clark has been fantastic from three-point range and shooting well from everywhere. I mean, this is going to be really, really interesting in this front court here tomorrow. But we'll start with Brianna Stewart. Like I said, 8,500. You need that much from her. Brianna is tops in points. She's third in the league at 21.5 rebounds, 8.16 in the league. She's fifth in the league in blocks at 1.6 a game. She has 1.3 steals per game. Her field goal percentage is at 52%, 11th best in the league. She has 50-point upside, as we know. She's in play. It's just she is pricey. 8,500. Is she capable of getting there? Yes. Will she get there? We'll see. She had 52 spot 2 games ago, but she had a major dud against LA. 27 minutes, only put 16, 5, 2, and 2 here. 28 fantasy points. 52 after 38 and 37. We need to get around 41. She can get there. It's just I think tomorrow's matchup is going to be a little tough with Angel. Let's take a look at Angel. Do we want to save 1,300 and go with Angel? Angel at 7,200, you need about 35, 36. You need about 36, and she's at 33. Very close to value. I would like this price more at 68, 69. But can she get to 35? Yes. She did 35 or better 1, 2, 3 out of the last 4 games. So why not? 32 minutes in the last game, 23 minutes, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 47.8 fantasy points. Like I said, she needs about 30. She needs about 36, and she has done that 1, 2, 3 out of the last 4. So yeah, can she get there? Yes. And she did 37 against Phoenix, which was against Griner, and she did it against here in Minnesota against Fowles. So I mean, you know, she's capable of doing it. That was 2 pretty good centers there, or 2 pretty good front ladies there. So Angel McCoughtry, I like her. I love Stewart, and you know I've been on her from the first part of the season. But I think this matchup here is a very nice matchup. Maybe Stewart will still have the upper hand, but I'm thinking of the price. And if I'm thinking price, 8,500, man, that's pretty steep. Pretty steep. I'd rather probably go with McCoughtry. All right, Natasha Howard, 6,600. You need about 33. She's averaging 30. She's another one that's very good in a lot of areas. She scores. She's a good scorer, 13.8 per game. She's 13th in the league in rebounds and 6.5 a game. She's at 1.9 blocks, was 3rd in the league. 59%, 6th best in the league from field goal range. Her field goal percentage is 59%, guys. Man, look at this last game against the Spark. 28 minutes, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 blocks, 1 steal, 40 big fantasy points. You need 33 from her, and she's got more than 33 in the last 2 games alone against Dallas and LA. She has a shot tomorrow. I'd rather not pay for Brianna and pay for Natasha Howard at 6,600. I think that's the better play tomorrow. You'll save a little bit of money. There's a chance that Stewart might not get to 41 or 42. But I could see Howard getting to 30 plus with no problem. And at that price, you need 30, 36. You know, you need 33. 34. I think she can. I think she could pay that price. I think that price is good. All right. So definitely Natasha Howard is in play tomorrow. Jessica Breland, I love her as well for Atlanta. 6,000, you need 30 on the nose from her, and she's averaging 29.7, so she's definitely priced right. 25 and 26 the last few games, just below that 30% range. But you know what? 35, 31, 33. She's capable of it. What I like about her is the rebounding. I mean, she's 5th in the league in rebounds, almost 9 a game. She's at 4th in the league in blocks. She has already 13 blocks this season. She has 12 steals already in the season, too. She's 7th best there at 1.8 a game. So she's a defender, man. This is a girl that rebounds, does all the dirty work. She's not a big scorer. As you can see, she averages anywhere between 6 to 8. If you look at this here, her average is more like around 7 or 8. And that's basically it. The numbers we want to see from Miss Jessica Breland is the rebounding and the blocking and steals. And she does that. And stay away from foul trouble. So she's in play. She's in play at 6,000. I think she can get 30 fantasy points. I really do like her there. And I also like Elizabeth Williams in this matchup here. 5,200. If you want to save $800, then you take Miss Elizabeth Williams. Elizabeth Williams, 5.2K. You need 26. She's playing about 26 minutes. She's not getting 1 fantasy point per minute at the moment. She did have a big dud here against Connecticut. Only 7.4 fantasy points. I don't think she's going to do too many of those because she is pretty good. She's tops in rebounds, 5.6 a game. She's tops in blocks, 6th in the league at 1.4. She's has 10 total blocks altogether. She has 9 total steals at 1.3 steals per game. Okay, she's doing good. She's not going to put up a bunch of points. She's more of that front court presence. There's defense, gets the offensive rebounds, so on and so forth. Elizabeth Williams is in play at 5,200. Again, if you want to save 800, you go Williams. You want to pay 800 more, I'd be all for it. Definitely go with Breland. Alicia Clark, nice $4,100 play right here. It's the last person I want to look at here in this entire game. 16.6 fantasy points. She put a big whopping almost 40 spot here against LA. 27 massive minutes, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 big steals. She's been pouring it on, man. She is in the league. She's averaging 8.4 points per game. Not too bad. Rebounds, 3 a game. 1.5 steals a game. She's shooting from 3-point percentage. She's 4th in the league at 52.9, nearly 53% from 3-point range. Like I said before, she's one that you definitely want to watch. So she's in play, 4,100. Again, you know, you need 20 from her pretty much. She's averaging 16. She's capable of getting there. Let me go to the cruncher here. I know this video has been long, guys, but like I said, if you were to, like I said at the beginning, if you chop it down and just listen to it 10 minutes at a time, they're gonna get shorter. I guarantee you they will. I just want to be able to pinpoint to you a lot of areas that you should be looking at, that I look at, and I wanted to share that with you in this this particular slate. All right, so that takes care of all the 4. Now, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna tell you what I do after I break things down. I start looking at targeting the teams for plays, right? And what I do is I look first. I look at all the fantasy play positions that I think I'm going to be able to generate as much possible fantasy points from. Because again, we're fantasy players, and the objective here is to win the GPPs, right? So what helps us there is finding players that gives us 1 fantasy point per minute if possible. At least that's like what I try to shoot for. And at the same time, look for the best possible plays depending on the slate. So when we look at the slate, I'm looking at the assists first, right? So when I look at assists, Phoenix has 21 assists per game, Seattle 20.8. So out of the teams that are in this slate, which are 8 teams, Phoenix and Seattle are the best 2 teams as far as average-wise with assist totals. So who you target when you look at Phoenix? Well, their top assist players are Taurasi and Bonner. So if you're looking to try to get fantasy points where you're targeting more players that are high in assist totals, then in this case for Phoenix, they're 21. The majority of them come from Taurasi and Bonner. The next team on this slate that had the highest level of assists is Seattle at 20.8, which is pretty much 21, just like Phoenix. And that comes out of Lloyd and Bird, the 2 guards also in the backfield for Seattle. And those were the 2 top teams. Yeah, every team had some, but most of the teams were at 16, 18. These 2 had the most. And if you wanted to target, what I narrow it down, I start targeting and I start marking down Taurasi, Bonner, Lloyd, and Bird as possibilities to play. And then I look to see if they fall into some of the other categories as well. So now I look at steals. And the top steal teams on this slate are the Spark with 9 a game, Atlanta with 9 a game, and Seattle with 8 a game. So I totaled up all the players that are the top stealers in these games, in these particular teams. So when you think of the Spark, you're thinking of Gray, and she's actually the #1 stealer in the WNBA. Then you got Ogumake and Miss Essence Carson. When you think of Atlanta, you got Hayes, you got McCautry, you got Breland and Williams. They got 4 individuals there that really do well in stealing the ball. Obviously, Hayes and McCautry have the most, but Breland and Williams are there as well. And then when you think of Seattle, it's definitely 4 individuals as well. You got Stewart and Bird, the top ones with steals, and then you got Clark and the young rookie Canada. So those are the girls you target. So right now, if you're looking to get more out of the steals, then these are the girls that you're targeting. When you think about rebounds, the top rebounding teams were New York in this slate with 36 rebounds a game. You also have Atlanta with 36, and Las Vegas has 34. And Las Vegas use a collective group of work within the whole team. But their top guys are Miss Wilson, Miss McBride, Miss Swords, and Miss Hambry. They were the top rebounders on that team thus far this year. When you think of Atlanta, you got Miss Hayes, Miss McGartry, Miss Breland, and Miss Williams. Now, again, those same 4 girls were also in the steal department. So now you know that you're going to get some good fantasy points from those 4 ladies. Any one of those 4 ladies you can utilize because they are able to be in more than one area. Then you think of New York, you got Miss Charles, Miss Nurse, and Miss Zelios. They are the top rebounding team, and 2 of them are guards. So Tina Charles definitely does all the brunt of the rebounding. They do have a collective other individuals on the team that get rebounds, but these are the 2 main girls. When you go to blocks, you got Atlanta at 5.4, Phoenix at 5, and Seattle at 4. They were the top 3 teams on this slate as far as blocks are concerned. So when you look at Atlanta, you're thinking of Breland and Williams. They were the top blockers. And when you think about Phoenix, there's only one individual, and that's Griner. And in Seattle, it's Stewart and Howard, Natasha Howard. That's where they're getting the brunt of their blocks from. And now you have yourself an idea of at least some players that you may want to target even more so. Then you go and you figure out field goal percentage. Top field goal percentage teams on the slate. Phoenix 48% is number 1. Seattle 47.6, pretty much almost 48. And then Las Vegas, surprisingly, 46.4. Los Angeles Spark at 46.4. So now you look at first Phoenix. Their top field goal percentage ladies are Taurasi, Bonner, Griner, and Sancho Little. All 4 of these ladies are averaging over 42% from the floor. Their field goal percentage of 42% or better. Then you got Seattle with Lloyd, Stewart, Howard. All 3 of those ladies are at 45% from field goal range. Then you got the Spark. You think of their Miss Ogumake, Miss Gray, and Miss Sims. All 3 of them at 40% or better. So now you got yourself some girls that shoot from the floor very well, and now you can actually narrow down this list even more. Then what you do is 3%, 3-point percentage. You look at Seattle, 38%, Phoenix 35%, and Chicago at 37% from 3-point range. When you look at Seattle, you think Lloyd, Bird, and Clark. When you think of Phoenix, Taurasi in January. And when you think of Chicago, it's Quigley, DeShields, and Vandersloot. They are the top 3-point shooters for that team. Now, points. Seattle tops at 91 in this slate. They're the ones that score the most points. So you think of Lloyd, Stewart, Howard, and Clark. They're their top scorers. When it comes to Philadelphia, the second best offense, total points in this slate is Phoenix at 84 points per game. And now you're thinking of Griner, Taurasi, and Bonner. Those are the top 3 dogs for them. And there you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a separate video and just basically break this down a little bit more, because I'm sure a number of you are not going to go back and look at the video. But like I said before, that's what you should do, at least for this one. Then by the next one, you'll have even more of an idea of how I go about things. Then the next thing I'm going to share with you is how I break down even more so by going and looking at fantasy points per minute, which I shared that with you in the last video regarding the WNBA. And what I also do is I look at usage and ceiling and all that, and what's the upsides. So all those things I look at. Your top guards today, as far as fantasy points per minute, as far as usage rate and ceiling, of individuals like Dawana Bonner, 1.06 fantasy points per minute. She has a usage rate right now currently at about 29% with a ceiling of 45 plus. So Bonner is a nice play going into today's game. Brittany Boyd, who's coming back, 1.25 slowly but surely. Fantasy points per minute, she's capable of having 1.25 in this particular game. If she plays long enough, you could possibly see that. Usage rate as of last season was pretty much about 38%. So if she comes back and she's somewhere near that range, that's not too bad. And she has a 40-point or better upside. Mr. Shields at .99 fantasy points per minute is nearly 1 fantasy point per minute. Is fantastic. Usage rate will be about 30%, and she's a ceiling of already 30 or better. So not a bad play here. Another one is a good play is Jewel Lloyd, .94 fantasy points per minute, 33% usage rate for her team, which is really, really great. Anything above 24% is fantastic. And then, of course, 47. She has a 45-plus upside as far as ceiling is concerned. Vandersloot is next at .93. Her usage rate is at 23%, and she has a 50-point upside. Then we have Tarazi at .92, nearly 1 point a minute, fantasy point per minute as well. Usage rate is 32%, which is something that I really love, and her ceiling is 40 or better. And then you got Tiffany Hayes as my last possible pick here out of the girls that are in the slate at .89 with a usage rate of 28% and a ceiling of at least 35 or better. When you think of the forwards, I got Ajay Wilson at 1.29 fantasy points per minute. That is fantastic for a rookie. Usage rate 37%, nearly 38, and a 40-point upside. You got Candace Parker at 1.22 fantasy points per minute, 32.5, almost 33% usage rate, and she has a 50-plus upside. You got Miss McCartry at 1.19 with a 34% usage rate and a 50-point upside. Brianna Stewart at 1.17 with a 32.9 usage rate and a 50% upside as well. Ms. Griner at 1.15 fantasy points per minute with a 33% usage rate and a 50-plus upside. So you can see there's a lot of good upside right now with the forwards. So you definitely want to get at least one or two of these individuals and then get some value off the guards. The cheaper guards that have good ceilings, have good usage rate, and has possibly a good fantasy point per minute, but their value prices is nice, maybe at 4 or 5K or lower. Then we got Miss Agumake at 1.13 fantasy points per minute. Again, these are right now, that's like 6 or 7 of them already in the forward spot that have the potential to give you more than 1 fantasy point per minute. She's at nearly 30% usage rate, which is great, and 50-plus upside. Then you got Miss Tina Charles at 1.12 with a 36% usage rate and a 50-plus upside. Then we got Natasha Howard at .96, which is nearly 1 fantasy point per minute. Her usage rate is a little bit lower at 23%. She has a 40-point upside. Yeah, Jessica Breland at .95 with a 22% usage rate. I wish those usage rates were a little bit higher, but then again, Breland and Howard are more defenders, rebounders, blockers. That's where they fall into more. So that's one of the reasons why their usage rate is lower. They're not big scorers. But a 35-plus or better upside for Breland. Then you got Mr. Dupree at .95 with a 27% usage rate and a 42-point upside. And then you got Miss Isabel Harrison, who should be back, .85 with a 26% usage rate and 40-point upside. So those are the plays, guys. FPPMs, usage rate, and ceiling. I look at all those things. Again, like I said, I know the video is long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically do another video and just try to give you these. I'm going to probably label it as, techniques and strategies for WNBA lineup picking, something like that. I'm going to label the title, and that'll be up in the next couple of days. I'll do something like that. And then what I basically would do is just take something like this and just basically speak about FPPs, FPPMs, and usage rate and ceiling, and how you break players down. But that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much it. So, I mean, it's all a matter of you just putting those players together. The player pool here, like I said, my guards, I got quite a bit here. Not all these ladies are in play. I think the best play of the day here, definitely the matchups with Chelsea Gray and Jewel Lloyd. If you want to pay up there, it's fine. But like I said before, you got a lot of FPPMs with the forwards. So I'd rather pay up 1 or 2 nice forwards for today's slate. Like maybe Angel at 7,200 and maybe getting somebody just slightly a little cheaper, or maybe getting Miss Tina Charles. She's a nice matchup. Or you can, go with Agumake or even Stewart. Anybody, any of these girls would be fine. I like Wilson here as well. Someone in the maybe in the 7 to 8K as one, and then maybe try to get another one in the 6K range. And then of course your last two will be, someone in the lower tier. So if you go in lower tier here, I would say Alicia Clark at 4,100 is not a bad play. Definitely look out for Miss Hamby. She's only 3,000, and Miss McCall 3,400. If there's no Miss Dupree, definitely that's someone to consider there for Indiana, because she's going to need to get some time on the floor. And when and be on the lookout for Miss Isabel Harrison. If she is playing for Vegas tomorrow, she could be a sneaky play. So take a look at her. That's for the forwards. And the guards, I mean, like I said, bargain hunting here. 3,200 Brittany Boyd, like I said, if she comes back and plays for New York, she has 40-point upside. I don't think she's going to get 40 points in her first game out, but I mean, if she gets at least 20 minutes, she could probably put up 20 fantasy points. She's capable of it. So Brittany Boyd is in play as a cheap value play at 3,200. A sneaky play is what I call it. And, lower in here, I don't know. You see, I think there's great value here in the 44,000 to 5,000 range. When you have Jordan Canada, you got January, Montgomery, Gabby Williams, Bria Hartley. All these girls are very good. Diamond DeShields, 4,500. You got Erica Wheeler. Okay, all those are there. Kayla McBride, 4,700. They got her up there really high as far as projection. She is in a favorable matchup facing the 8th best defending team against guards, which is obviously that's the bottom tier of the league with only 12 teams. That's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. All right, so I hope you guys liked the video. I hope I gave you some insight and some advice and some ideas on how to go and make these lineups. Again, like I said at the very beginning, I hope you guys stuck around. Like I said, I know the video's long. Just chop it up. Listen to it for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If you can get another 15 minutes later, you don't have to sit and watch the whole 1 hour and a half video, but it will be a good way for you to get an idea. And what I'll do is this area of FPP, M's, and USG, and ceiling, and just breaking down teams as far as as far as the slate is concerned regarding statistics. I think I could do a separate video and break it down like that for those of you who want to see that. If anybody listened and listened to the whole video and watched the whole video, comment down below. Let me know if that's something you think will be useful for you guys. Will be something that'll be of good use, and some content that you think it will help you. I'll be willing to do the video again as a smaller version, just explaining those aspects of how I decide to narrow things down to the point where I get to maybe the final 15, 16 players, and then decide from there who are going to be my top 7, or if I'm going to make 2 separate lineups or 3. I usually do 2 or 3. So I always bring it down to about 16 or 17 players, and I can, those are the steps necessary, but I can share that with you by breaking it down again and showing you just that aspect of it, as opposed to, letting you know only telling you the plays as well as the way I go about it. So maybe showing you how it is to go about it for those who are fairly new. And this is obviously for those who are just fairly new to WNBA, which is a few of you have commented and have asked me, is it like kind of worth it for you to do it, because you're not too familiar with it. Yeah. There's money to be made. There's no doubt about it for everybody. There's only 12 teams in the league, so that's definitely an advantage. You definitely don't have large slates. This is probably the biggest you're going to get on a regular basis, 4, maybe 5 games. Other than that, most of the slates are going to be 1 game or 2 games. I would not advise anybody to play too many 1 games, but I mean, definitely a 2-game slate or better you should definitely consider. So, but that's basically it, guys, man. I mean, get your lineups in, man. Drop a like on the video. Again, comment down below anything you want to comment, anything you want to ask me. And at the same time, if you give me some feedback, if that's something you guys want to see done, I can definitely do a video on that separately and have it up in a couple of days. I'm sure it definitely will help some of you. And we'll take it from there, If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so down below. I appreciate it again for all those who have subscribed and have commented and have interacted with me in this community of mine for daily fantasy sports. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. And again, share the video with others, speak to others who are getting involved in DFS or are new to DFS. Let them know about the channel, especially if you feel this definitely can help someone. You definitely should share Facebook, Instagram, wherever, your social media you deal with, Twitter. I would definitely appreciate it. But that's basically it, man. Good luck tonight. Make those lineups. Everybody, God bless, and your boy Manny's out.